at least experience one about this. And we are going to learn many things today. So without further delay, I would pass over to Deekshita. All right, Deekshita, over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Deekshita and I'm currently a second year student in IGT2W and I'm a AR developer. I freelance and mentor students in augmented reality. And I'm also the CEO of Imagine Minds, which is a non-profit organization. I guess that's it. And I'm really excited to look over this event. And over to you, Gaurav.
Thanks, Dikshita. So I'm Gaurav Verma. I'm currently a core committee in Developer Student Club MESCO, which is Modern Education Society's College of Engineering. Over here at DSC, we help students to build the gap between theory and practice, and through various technologies. And anyone who is interested in being a developer can join our club. And through events like these about mixed reality and other events, we can spark that interest of being a good developer in you. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, Deekshita. And we have a very special guest with us here today, and she has a very great as like she had a different background. She didn't had a computer science background. She had something really different, like from Vogue, and then she ended up here being a senior cloud advocate at spatial computing at Microsoft. So she will tell us about her journey. And Mixed Reality Toolkit is the first session that we are having on, and I can assume that there might be several questions with you. So feel free to type it in the chat or save it up till the Q&A section we are having at the end. So that no one will judge you here. So we all have gathered here for the motive of learning. So feel free to ask any basic question that you have. And without any further delay, over to you, April.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is April Speight, and I am based in Southern California. I have been working in tech for roughly now 7 years. I started out as a project manager, then a program manager, and then I joined Microsoft 2 years ago, and I started out with our docs team as a PM for interactive features. And then a year ago, I joined our cloud advocacy team because I wanted to spend more time with developers and helping developers onboard and get started with specifically mixed reality. As mentioned, I came from a non-computer science background. I used to work in the luxury fashion industry. I was a menswear stylist as well as menswear stylist as well as a visual merchandiser is what I meant to say. So working on floor sets and making different displays in the store windows, really creative field, really loved it. But I transitioned over into this industry, and looking back, I'm glad I did. I really enjoy my time here. So for those who might not be familiar with our Cloud Advocates program, it's very similar to like an evangelism program. It's just that since we have Azure, we like to advocate for the cloud. So there's different areas within cloud advocacy. I happen to be in spatial computing, but there are various other ones that are available. And hopefully at some point down the road, as you all are trying different career choices, if you ever decide to get into developer relations, it's a really fun area to be in. So without further ado, I am going to go ahead and start this presentation. And as mentioned, if you have any questions, definitely put them in the chat. I will do my best to answer to my best ability. So let me go ahead and share my screen now. Okay, so all about the Mixed Reality Toolkit. So to begin, Mixed Reality Toolkit is by far one of my most favorite tools that we have available with regards to creating mixed reality experiences. I've been using it ever since I onboarded on my team, and basically every single thing that I create here at Microsoft, I use the Mixed Reality Toolkit. We have a very awesome PM who does a really great job with everything MRTK, and he and I are very close. I'm happy to spend a lot of time with him. I will say after this presentation, if you want to know even more about the Mixed Reality Toolkit, I'll list some resources. But we also recently filmed a One Dev question series that's been posted on Twitter for the past 3 weeks, I want to say, where we're answering different questions around the toolkit. So that's just an FYI. So I'm going to start with, in terms of the table of contents, explaining what the different realities are. I know there's a lot of different terminology when it comes to augmented reality and virtual reality and mixed reality, and then whatever it is I'm doing over in spatial computing. There's a lot of different terms. So I'll explain what those are. Next, I'll actually introduce you all to the Mixed Reality Toolkit, as well as some important things that you should know about it. From there, we're going to talk about the interaction models and how there are Mixed Reality Toolkit features that can support the different interaction models that are available for whoever is using the app that you've created. And then we're going to talk about something that's new for us in mixed reality, which is the Mixed Reality feature tool, and I'll dive into that a bit. And then I'm going to touch upon the Unity configuration that needs to be completed before you can use the Mixed Reality Toolkit. Then we'll head inside Unity for a demo to give you an idea of what the setup is for your experiences with Mixed Reality Toolkit. I promise it's like really quick to do. You can get as complex as you want, but from a bare bones perspective, that's what I'm going to show you, and just so you can get an idea of how much functionality you can get just from the toolkit as is. And then I'll share some resources with you all as well. So without further ado, let's talk about the realities. So whenever you hear about different realities, there's usually augmented reality, and then there's virtual reality, and then there's also going to be mixed reality, and they're all under this umbrella of extended reality. So to give you an idea of what each one is, starting with augmented reality. So for augmented reality, it's going to be the far left image is where you can see the real world surrounding us while displaying digital objects directly on top of our view. So in the image on the left, I believe this is an app from Target, if I'm not mistaken, whereas the user has found a 3D model of, where they found a chair essentially in the catalog of chairs. There's a 3D model to see it in your space. So now on this individual's iPhone, they're able to get an idea of what that object looks like in their space. And the model is to scale. So that way you also get an idea of how large it is and if it's going to fit where you would like for it to ideally be. So other examples of augmented reality, if you happen to be familiar with like Pokemon Go, which is what a lot of people seem to know of when they think about augmented reality, that's another good example too. Next is going to be virtual reality. This is actually my favorite of the realities, even though I do a lot in mixed reality. But with virtual reality, it's a simulated experience and you're going to be immersed into the virtual world. I personally like it a lot because it really does place you in a completely different like place. With virtual reality, you're not going to be able to see the real world around you. In this example here in the center of the slide, this is a GIF of Beat Saber, if anyone's ever tried that game out before. But there's so many different experiences available with VR. You can also, I know just last year watching different basketball games, and there my manager likes to watch YouTube videos in VR, so it's like a massive screen, much larger than anyone would typically have in their home. But I really like working with VR. And then there's mixed reality. So the image on the right, there is a robot that's walking and there's something that's like starting to come into the scene. So with mixed reality, we refer to it as a spectrum, whereas the far left of the spectrum is going to be the physical world, and then the far right is going to be the virtual world, if you will. And along that spectrum is augmented reality and virtual reality. And when you get to the mixed reality, it's almost kind of like the best of both worlds. Once you start to get into my area, spatial computing, that's when you're able to work with making your experience with the holograms and your experience spatially aware. That's one thing that I actually find to be really cool. And my first like introduction into spatial computing was being able to see these like animated holographic characters just running around the room fighting each other, and they were like hopping off of like real world objects. So it was cool to see that. Since then, I've learned how to do it as well, and I do have YouTube videos on how you can enable spatial awareness, which happens to also be a feature of the Mixed Reality Toolkit. But in this image that's on the screen, this robot is fully aware where the floor is, for example. So instead of just kind of floating up in midair, they're definitely aware what's in the scene. Another good example I like to use is if you're working with like a cube, like a holographic cube, and if you want to set it on like a real world table, it'll just sit right on top. But if you were to put it more on like the edge of the table, it'll actually start to like wobble and teeter, and it'll probably fall because it's aware of that particular table. Same with like a sphere, because they're round. If the floor is not even, then it's going to start to roll around as well. So I think it's pretty cool. There's a lot of cool things you can do with it. And that takes me to the Mixed Reality Toolkit. So the Mixed Reality Toolkit provides a set of components and features used to accelerate cross-platform mixed reality app development in Unity. If you happen to be an Unreal developer, so that's going to be the other platform, another platform that you can use for development, we also support that too. I only use Unity, so I can only really speak to it from a Unity perspective, but we do have another individual on my team. Her name is M. She more so specializes in Unreal. And then also there's another colleague of mine named Summer. She does a lot with Unreal and Mixed Reality Toolkit. So you have that flexibility there. With regards to the toolkit in general, you can think of it as like a low code, no code solution to adding different features to your experiences or your apps. So for me, for example, when I started in mixed reality, all I knew was Python, which wasn't that helpful for when it came to writing scripts in C# in mixed reality. So I had to go and learn C#, but along the way, I had the Mixed Reality Toolkit. And so the different features that come with the toolkit, we provide you the scripts as well with the different features. So you're able to really just more or less add components to the different objects in your scene. And you can really do a lot without having to go inside Visual Studio. Of course, if you want to go inside Visual Studio, you're more than welcome to. You can modify the scripts that we provide as well. And there's flexibility there too. But if you're just getting started and you want to be able to, for example, pick up something once you're viewing it in the real world, we have something very quick to get you up and running with that. And I'm going to show you all that later when I get into the demo in Unity. So regarding device support, we support a lot. The two that people most commonly know are going to be the HoloLens and then the HoloLens 2. But in addition to that, there's also the HTC Vive, the Oculus Rift, the Oculus Quest, the Android devices, iOS devices, Leap Motion by Ultraleap as well. So there is some flexibility there if you want to utilize MRTK. This is also an open source project, so you are more than welcome to contribute. In terms of how to do that, you would go to the Mixed Reality Toolkit repository, you would fork that repo. And then whatever you're contributing, whether it's a fix or it's a feature, you have to make sure that it works across all platforms that we support. And then also include tests. And then before you create your pull requests and such, make sure that you have documentation available as well that you're providing. With the Mixed Reality Toolkit, there are 4 different packages that we provide. Of those 4, only one of them is going to be required, and that's going to be the foundation package. That particular package includes the toolkit itself. Another helpful one is going to be the samples pack or the examples package. That one's going to have a fully created scene of like every different Mixed Reality Toolkit feature that you can check out and get an idea of how it works. Most important, how it's set up as well. I personally sometimes will refer to the examples package and just copy like an entire component and then add it to my own experience, so that way I don't have to reinvent the wheel. So that samples package or examples package is going to be really helpful. The other one is an experimental one, I believe. So anything that's experimental is in that one. And I forget what the last one is. I don't personally use it, but what's most important is to remember that foundation package. And then if you ever want to see some samples of ways that the Mixed Reality Toolkit are used beyond like a basic Hello World project, which is what I'm going to show you today, we do have, as I mentioned, the Mixed Reality Toolkit Sample Hub. So that is within one of the MRTK packages. You can go ahead and import that into Unity, pick a scene and press play. There's also going to be the periodic table of elements. So one of the designers on the Mixed Reality team, his name is Yoon, he created this experience that is essentially a full periodic table of elements, and you're able to select one. Once you select one of the elements, it expands in front of you with just some different information about it, and also there's going to be a model of the element as well. So it's a pretty cool experience, all created with different Mixed Reality Toolkit features. Then there's the Galaxy Explorer. So this one, as it says, it lets you explore the galaxy. There's planets, there's stars, so on and so forth. What's really cool about this one is that it makes use of, I think it's the eye gaze, if not just regular head gaze, but for eye gaze, essentially, once you are focused on something for whatever the specified time period is, that object will start moving closer to you. So that's pretty cool. And then the final one that we, at least at Microsoft, provide is going to be surfaces. I haven't personally tried that one. I've seen demos and it's actually pretty cool. That one makes use of a lot of different particles and some of the shaders as well. So it's worth checking out as well. Make sure I said everything about MRTK there, and I did. So interaction models. So for the interaction models, this is one thing that you want to decide early on, and our design team would be like happy to hear that you figure out what your interaction model is going to be for your experience. The interaction model is going to be essentially how your users interact with your app. So how are they inputting any sort of action, or if you will, into your experience. So these are the 4 that we've narrowed down to, and then I'll talk a bit about different ways the Mixed Reality Toolkit provides some feature to work towards it. But you want to make sure you understand how your users are interacting, because in the long run, that's going to help you answer a lot of questions around the creation of your experience. So I'm going to start with the hand and motion controllers. So far left image in the slide deck, there is a coffee cup, and then there's what we call a bounding box around it. The bounding box is going to be a Mixed Reality Toolkit feature, whereas it places this holographic box around whatever the object is. You can fully customize the different wires on it. So right now it has like a kind of like blue wires, but you can do all different colors. There's handles as well that you can also modify. But this one is having the bounding box itself. I'm trying to go on a tangent about that. Having the bounding box itself is really helpful for users to let them know that they've actually selected something. You can also do that with audio cues as well, but from a visual perspective, this is a really great choice. So as it relates to hand and motion controllers, what is happening in the image is actually an articulated hand that has grabbed this cup and it's moving it around. When you use hand and motion controllers, it's going to, especially hand, I would say, it's going to have the lowest learning curve, because essentially in the real world, for most of us, we're used to interacting with things with our hands. And so that's something to keep in mind. Of course, it's not always the best solution, and that depends on what your experience is, but hands is going to be the lowest learning curve. Next, there's going to be the motion controllers. So those, if you think of like the Oculus Quest, for example, there's the 2 different controllers that are available, even though now they have the hand support, but there's controllers like that. I had someone ask me about like an Xbox controller as well. there's ways that you can map different input to the different controllers, and that's also within the Mixed Reality Toolkit as well. Next is going to be the hands-free model. And so as it states, the user is not using their hands at all. Instead, they would do things like use speech commands. So when you import the Mixed Reality Toolkit into your Unity project, you can set up different commands depending on what you say. It'll perform whatever the assigned action is. So in this example that's in the second image, right behind it is a button, which we provide you buttons in the Mixed Reality Toolkit as well. And then if you were to say button, then that would select the button. So it's truly hands-free. You don't have to actually touch anything, or you can really just say speech commands. The next one is gaze and commit. So in the third image from the left, what's happening here is that well, it was me that was trying this one out, but what the device is doing is tracking where my eyes are. So I focused on that one blue object, and then once it knew that I was focusing on it, I said a word, which is the commit action, and the word I think was like explode or something. So it just kind of like exploded. With gaze and commit, like I mentioned, it's going to include eye tracking, and it pretty much gets an idea of where your gaze is. There's also going to be head gaze as well. Head gaze is going to be based on the direction that your head-mounted device is facing. But gaze and commit's pretty cool as well. Then there's eye gaze, which is the last one, or the very last one that's here. So what's happening in this particular example is that there is some text on the screen, and then the text is moving up and down. So what's happening here is that with eye tracking, as you read and your eyes start to go towards the bottom of the slate, the scroll bar actually starts to move automatically, which is really cool. The reason that it's jumping in my example where it goes to the very top and to the very bottom is because I simulated this in Unity, so I didn't put it necessarily on my HoloLens. In Unity, in the editor and play mode, we have a little like eye, if you will, and so the only way I could get it to work in Unity was to move my eye up and down. So that's why it's like that. If you were to try it in an actual device, though, it would just stay still, and then the text, the scroll bar would just move the text up and down. Now, when it comes to choosing your interaction model, hands and motion controllers, if your users should do something with their hands, that's a really great interaction model. If they are, if they need to use their hands in the real world while interacting with your experience, the hands-free is going to be better. Really good example is if it was a training app for, let's say, a manufacturer, and they're learning how to put like a car piece together, for example. In the real world, they'll need to maybe hold the different tools, but because their hands are busy, they can't necessarily press buttons in your mixed reality experience. So instead, they can interact using words, so speech. So something like that is something to keep in mind. With gaze and commit and eye gaze, any sort of situation where it would benefit the user to use their eyes to focus on something, definitely choose that particular model. One thing about gaze and commit and eye gaze is that you can only use it if your device has that feature. So not all features track eyes. I know the HoloLens does, for example. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you should get the user's permission before you actually enable eye tracking for the experience. The reason being is that with eye tracking, it is possible to well, it's essentially it's data about the person. It is private information about the person, and we have done research where you're able to take someone's eye movements and then trace them all the way back to that particular person. So you obviously need to put a lot of effort into doing that, of course, but this is why you also want to get the permission of the user before eye tracking is enabled. Same with voice. Anything that's speech related, not likely to track someone back based on their speech, but that you have to enable the microphone. So you want to make sure that the individual knows that anything that's said is going to be picked up by the microphone. So those are just some heads up that's really important to know, especially around safety and security. And then the mixed reality feature tool. So this is brand new for us, and this is what you're going to use to get the mixed reality toolkit into your Unity project. Historically, what you've had to do was head over to the GitHub repository, download the packages, and then import them into Unity. And then if we came out with a new version, you had to go back and get the next one, and so on and so forth. With the mixed reality feature tool, we've bundled up all the different packages that we have, whether it's a mixed reality like cloud service or like Azure Remote Rendering, for example, or if it's anything that's platform support or like spatial audio, and then most important, the mixed reality toolkit. They're all in this feature tool now, so that way, whenever you want to import an MRTK package, I like about this is the fact that it is convenient. So I don't have to worry, like I said, going to the browser. One thing about this though is that you have to have your Unity project set up and configured first, and then you'll use the feature tool and it'll import everything into there. It'll like reload your project. So that's something to keep in mind. And in addition, when you're working with the mixed reality toolkit and such, and I won't show it in the demo, but essentially you're going to want to be working with the Universal Windows platform. That's just something that you can set up beforehand. So I think from here we're heading into, oh, there's one more thing before the demo, the Unity configuration. This is important. So once the toolkit is actually in Unity, and once you've added it to your scene, there's a couple things that's going to happen. That camera object that is like in the default sample scene when you first start up Unity, that's going to be placed into the mixed reality play space object that gets added to the hierarchy. It's going to be a child of that. So that's where your camera is going to go. The mixed reality toolkit object is the actual toolkit itself. Now we provide you configuration profiles, and they've been created to more or less fit whatever specifications for devices that you're using with the toolkit. I, for example, typically always use the HoloLens one just because that's the device that I'm using, but there are other options. And the thing about those configuration profiles that we give you is that you can't modify them. So instead, you'll have to clone them. And that's what the middle image is depicting in there in the inspector. You can clone it. And then once you have your clone, you can do whatever you want with it. It's essentially, we're giving you the template for the profile, and then you can go and do whatever you would like. On the last image is the profile properties. And so these are the things that I would say you're actually modifying. There's a lot of different settings in here. And just to give you some examples, if you wanted to use different like input with the controller, you need to map that input, you would clone the profile, and then in here you would open up the input section, for example, and then do your mapping there. This is also where you can do your speech commands that you're adding if you're doing speech for anything. There's also one other one I'll mention is the spatial awareness. And so with spatial awareness, you can either have all the mesh that shows when you're moving about the space, or you can make it disappear. I always suggest turning it on first and then turning it off once you've mapped the space, but that's what the profiles are for. So now we're going to head into Unity, and here we are. So I have my scene already set up. If you're not familiar, I had mentioned you need to make sure you're within the Universal Windows platform. You can access that by going to File, Build Settings, and then within there, you'll switch to the Universal Windows platform. Once that's done, you're just about set up. Once that toolkit gets imported, there's going to be a new menu item that says Mixed Reality Toolkit. You'll select that and then add to scene and configure. I already have mine in the scene, so I'm not going to do anything else with that. But while I am in here in Unity, let me close this up. I am going to use a Unity, oh my goodness. I'm gonna use a cube to just demonstrate how you can add this to the scene and then manipulate it and move it and rotate it with hands. So I'll do all that here in Unity. And it's really to show you just how quick you can get up and running with the toolkit with something such as object manipulations with hands. So to start off, right click, 3D object, I'm going to select the cube. So there's our cube. I'm going to push it back on the Z axis. The reason that we're doing that is because the headset that you're wearing essentially is going to be at origin, which is 0, 0, 0. So anything that's also at origin is going to be sitting in the middle of your head. So you want to push that back a little bit on the Z axis, which is what I've done here. Another thing that I like to do is add some color. And so in the Mixed Reality Toolkit, we provide shaders, and there's a lot of colors to choose from. I already have it filtered to that area, but within the project menu, let's see if I can make it a wee bit bigger for you all. In here, within the packages area, we have some standard assets. And then in here, we have materials. So you can drag and drop the material of your choosing. I am going to go with emerald green in this case, and I'll just drag it onto there. I don't think I have enough space for myself to do that. Let me try that again. It works when it works. Let's put it there. There we go. So now we have an emerald green cube. And so if I were to go in play mode now, it's not going to do anything but just float. So what we need to do is add some sort of way to interact with it. So selecting this cube, I'm going to collapse everything here so we can have a better view of the different components that I'm adding. For a hand interaction, there's only 2 scripts that you need to add, or 2 components that you need to add. The first going to add component is going to be object manipulator. This script is going to enable you to manipulate objects that are in your scene. So if I expand that, there's a lot of different settings in here, so you can really customize whatever that experience will look like for you. I will point out some of them. So manipulation type, that's going to be the ability to either interact with 1 hand or 2 hands. There's also like an everything, meaning you can do either or, and then nothing means you can't interact with the hands, I guess. So pretty much 1 or 2-handed. And then if it's a 1-handed manipulation, we have some options in there. It's either to be able to rotate it about the object center, so that's going to be the middle of the object, or if you're doing it at a grab point, if it's like the cube, for example, let's say I grabbed it at one of the corners, then I can rotate it at that corner as opposed to at the center. 2-hand manipulation, there's the ability to scale it, so it's going to be making the object larger and then smaller. And then rotating would be rotating, as I mentioned, with the 1 hand. Moving is going to be the ability to just move it around the your space. So those are the ones that I like to point out. There are, of course, more things in here that you can add, especially around manipulation events. This is going to be really helpful as you start doing more complex things. We try to simplify it a bit for you. So again, so far, all I've done is create a cube, add a material, and then I just added a script. I didn't even change anything in the script. The next thing I'm going to do is add another component, which is the mirror interaction grabbable. So with this particular component, it's going to enable me to interact with something at a close distance. And so therefore, if let's say I was in my real world and I had my device on, I can actually grab this object from a close distance. We have, you have 2 different properties here. The one I will point out is to show tether when manipulating. A tether is going to be like this, like kind of white, long kind of line that attaches to whatever it is that you're grabbing. It's really helpful for folks who might be new to doing stuff in mixed reality because it gives them an idea that they have selected whatever the object is. So I'm not going to touch that one, but what I will do at this point is press play so you can check out what I just did. And one thing that I get questioned about because not many people have the devices that are available to do this technology. So there's always questions around, can I try things out in Unity, for example, or can I try it out in Emulator, so on and so forth. I personally started out doing everything in Unity here in a Unity editor by pressing play. You might be wondering, well, how can I even use my hands? Fortunately, there are some controls that you can use. Before I get to those controls, the first is going to be the WASD keys on your keyboard to move the camera around. So A is going to move the camera to the left. D is going to move it to the right. Let me come back over. And then W is going to go closer. And then S is going to go back. And you can also go vertical as well. I always forget which one it is. Oops, I didn't mean to click that. But there's two other keys that you can use to move the camera up and down. If you're able to see on my screen, it's like a teeny little white dot. That's going to be your eye. So that's where your eye is actually focusing on at that moment. And then as for the hands, spacebar. Let me click on here. Spacebar will bring your hands up. So now I have my right hand up, for example, and then if I scroll in on my mouse, I can get closer to the object. Pressing on the mouse is going to select it or grab, if you will. And let me try to get, there we go. So now I've grabbed it. I can move it around and I can also rotate it. So if I click Control as well on my keyboard, now I can rotate the object too. So all this is to give you an idea of the level of effort it takes to get up and running with the Mixed Reality Toolkit. There's not much involved if you're using just the basic features, but you can do a lot more. I've seen, I think in the example seen, whereas if you're looking at an object, it'll start to rotate and change colors, or it'll play like a sound or something. So those are a little bit more, not too much advanced, but they're things that you can do. So to wrap things up here, some resources for you all to get started. So we have Microsoft Learn, which is a great platform. It's module based, so that way it's for different units, and we walk you through different conceptual topics, and then there's exercises as well. The first one is getting started with mixed reality. That module is going to essentially explain all the basic concepts around mixed reality. You can access that by going to aka.ms/mr-getting-started. Next, there's going to be, oh wait, no, yeah, that's right. No, sorry, I mixed it up. Sorry, everyone. The Getting Started with Mixed Reality, that's actually a blog post I just wrote. I'm like losing track of the time right now, but I actually just wrote this blog post that actually lists all the resources that our newcomers use within cloud advocacy to get ramped up with mixed reality. And it's also what I use to learn everything mixed reality. So I'll definitely put the links in the chat. But that blog post is in our tech community blog, and it's essentially, I present it in the order that I think you should learn. There's just so much to go over. So following that path, it builds on top of each concept that's introduced. Within Microsoft Learn, the first one that I was describing is that intro, the mixed reality learn module, and that's aka.ms/learn-mr intro. The second module here is one that I authored, which is setting up a mixed reality project in Unity with the Mixed Reality Toolkit. It'll give you more details around how to set everything up in Unity, and then you'll end with what I actually just demoed, which was adding an object to the scene and being able to manipulate it. The next one is going to be the Mixed Reality Toolkit repo itself. So you can go to aka.ms/mrtk. And then the final one that I have here is going to be for the mixed reality feature tool, that new tool that I mentioned that we have. That's aka.ms/mr-feature-tool. So that is all that I have for Mixed Reality Toolkit. Like I said, there's a lot you can do with it. There's a lot of things that you can use as is without getting deep into code, but that's the Mixed Reality Toolkit.
Awesome. Yeah, those were really, like, really insightful, and really resources, will help a lot to, those who are really wanted to start with mixed reality, and mixed reality toolkit really gives the edge to start with that. As of now in the chat, I don't see any question, but so I guess for now we can go and get started with the quiz, so that also you can also take a break and get back for the Q&A later if we have any chats. If there are not any questions in the chat, I do have some questions for you. So all right, is the quiz ready? Gaurav, Karan?
Yes, yeah.
All right.
I'll share my screen then.
Sure,
Just
sure.
a minute. So I guess you can see my screen.
Yep, the screen is up.
Yeah.
And thanks
So
for the links.
okay, so everyone who wants to participate in the quiz, please go to www.kahoot.it and you'll be asked a game pin. So put 903121, and if you are in, I can see if I can see your names here. So that's awesome. Make sure to have two devices so that on one device, that is this what I'm presenting, you can see the screen where the questions will be displayed, and on the other device, on your phone or something, there would be four options, mainly in colors. So just make sure that you take part in it. And there's the one who comes first and second, I guess, will get a nice prize. So all the best.
Yep, do participate. It's all completely based on what all April just shared. So yeah, if you paid attention, so it will be super easy for you. So and the winner gets a prize. So feel free to join. You might be the winner.
We'll wait for another 1 or 2 minutes and then we'll begin the quiz. So you'll be seeing the questions here on your Microsoft Teams screen, and you'll be answering it on the other device or in your browser. So make sure to answer fast and answer correct. Of course, that's there.
Try joining through your actual name rather than using any username, so that when prizes are given, it can be given to you, not to that username.
Yes, make sure to enter your name so there's no confusion while giving out the prizes. Okay, so we have 30 participants right now, and if you guys are ready, just type yes in the chat box or in the chat. So we'll begin then if you guys are ready. Yes, yes. Okay. Okay, I guess we have enough yeses. So Faizan, shall we begin? Or should we wait?
Yeah, we can begin. I guess the count is still from
Okay.
16. So yeah, we can begin. Yeah.
Okay. All the best, everyone. Yeah. Let's start then. Question number 1. MRTK does not provide device support for which of the device? Okay, 24 of you answered it rightly. The answer is Nintendo DS, as explained by April, that it supports Oculus and iOS and most of the HoloLenses, and not Nintendo. So yeah, uh, let's move on to the next question. Let's see the standings. So we have Zulfa leading at 952 points, and then we have Harsh, then DS 2803, Malhar, and Sam. And let's move on to the next question. Let's True or false? The Mixed Reality Toolkit is open source. True or false? Okay, 31 of you answered it rightly. It is open source, available on GitHub for everyone. And let's see the scoreboard. Oh, Zulfa is still leading. Then we have Harsh, Malhar. Malhar has just, okay. Dhruvil and then Sam. Let's move on to the next question then.
Yeah, in the meantime, if you are having doubt like why are you not in this top five, then just FYI, it's a time-based quiz. The faster you respond, the more points you get. So try responding to the question faster.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the next question then. In Unity build settings, which platform should be selecting to target Windows Mixed Reality? WebGL, PC, Macs, and Linux standalone, Android, Universal Windows platform. Okay, 24 of you answered it rightly. It is Universal Windows platform. And let's look at the standings. Oh, Malhar has beaten Zulfa. Now we have Harsh, Dhruvil, Varun, Manav in the top five. And Batman is up 6 places. That's awesome. And now to the next question. Which Mixed Reality Toolkit package must be imported into Unity to use the Mixed Reality Toolkit? The Foundation package, the Demo package, the Extension package, or the Examples package? Oh, the Foundation package is the right answer. 12 of you answered rightly, and let's see the leaderboard. Harsh is leading. Next we have Sam and the top five. So 11 players lost the answer of this tough round. Okay, that's nice. Let's move on to the next question. Which of the following is not an interaction model? Eyes gaze, telepathy, gaze and commit, hand and motion controllers. Oh, telepathy is the right answer. But waiting for the day for it to happen, right? Harsh is still leading. Then we have Sam. Okay, up to 4 places. Sakshi is the highest climber. That's great. Let's move on to the next question. After MRTK is added to the scene and configured, three new objects are added to the scene hierarchy window. True or false? Nice. The answer is false. And
Yeah, we
we
only
move.
had two.
Okay. Next. Okay, Varun is leading. That's great. And yeah, 5 players just dropped the answer 5 stake. That's sad. But we have more 3 questions to go, I guess. So let's go. After import into Unity, the mixed reality it is added into. Okay, 11 of you answered correctly. It is move as a child to the mixed reality play space object. That's nice. Let's see what the leaderboard is like. Varun is still reading. Okay, and we have Arnav up to 9 places. That's really nice. So let's move on to the second last question. What is the purpose of object manipulator script? Make an object change color, make an object grabbable from close distance, make an object appear or disappear, make an object movable, scalable, rotatable using 1 or 2 hands. The answer is green or square. Make an object movable, and 23 of you answered it rightly. That's great. Let's move on to see the leaderboard. Okay, Varun has just dropped, and we have newcomers in the top 5 leaderboard. That's great. And let's move on to the next question. Second last question. If your MR experience needs the user to hold a real world object while interacting, which is the best interaction model? Hands-free model, hands and motion control, gaze and pinch, hand ray. It's the hands-free model. That's right. And let's move on to see the leaderboard. Varun, okay, back onto the leaderboard. And Harsh, Sam, and GV are here. Let's see the last question, final round. Let's see who turns out to be the winner. Configuration profiles provided by MRTK must be cloned to modify its settings. True or false? True is the right answer, and let's see who's won the quiz. Third place. Next we have Harsh. We have Varun coming in first, and that's awesome. Sam and Manav at fourth. So the first, second, and third, Varun, Harsh, and DVO. Sorry, I pronounced it wrong. Please message us on our Instagram at DSC MESCOE, and you'll get your 1 year coupon for your any JetBrains product you like, and you can use IntelliJ idea or anything for your benefit. And that's it, I guess. Just message us on our Instagram. If Dhruvil or anyone could just post the link of our Instagram in the chat, that would be awesome. Thanks. Over to you, Faisal.
Yeah, thank you and congratulations all of the winners. That was really an awesome quiz. All of the questions were amazing too. And so, yeah, just give me a second. I'm trying to share my screen here, which I was trying to fix in the meantime. Yeah, so actually, it was a complete presentation. So yeah, according to the agenda, we had introduction, sharing by April, and then fun quiz. Now it's time for Q&A. So regarding Q&A, I don't see any questions in the chat. Oh, there's a question. Um, Aha, Hadivio, sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. Want to know how to implement this in Android and iOS if possible. April, do you want to say about that?
Yeah, so what I can say, since I haven't personally done it, Kevin, who's the PM for the Mixed Reality Toolkit, would have more information, but he would probably also point to the documentation for more information. We recently just added the Mixed Reality Toolkit documentation to docs.microsoft.com within the Mixed Reality section. So there's likely something in there. I haven't just personally done it, but I know something that can be done. So check out the documentation. If you still can't figure it out, I will say come find me on Twitter. I'm going to put my name in here now, and then I can hopefully get you to the right person.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Adivio. Yeah, that's answered. I have a question like which folks might have when they start developing for mixed reality. So many of us might not have a headset, especially like any, especially HoloLens or Oculus. So can I still get started with mixed reality toolkit if I want to? So what would you say on that?
Yeah, you can. And that's how I personally got started. 9 times out of 10, anything that you want to try out, you can do it in Unity within the editor when you're in play mode. There's some things you can't necessarily do, like spatial awareness, because you need to be in the real world to do that. But anything like I built a chat bot and I did it all in Unity and tried it out in a Unity editor as well. Even anything that involves eye tracking, since we give you like a little teeny tiny eye in there, you can try that out. So if you're getting started, definitely you can do everything in Unity in terms, well, everything except maybe spatial awareness you can do in Unity. And yeah, I mean, to this day, even when I do demos for people, I was telling someone earlier, I still do everything in Unity. It's not too often that I deploy to the device, but Unity is like my #1 suggestion if you don't have access to a device.
Yep, Unity is always the savior for many things. And also with Mixari Toolkit, I guess you also said that it supports Android and iOS both. So, if we just want to get started and learn how things work, so we can do that too, I guess, because I had tried recently doing that. And I was also trying to, clone the thing which you recently made, the integration bot you made on your YouTube channel. So I was trying to clone that to Android. I had some issues that I'll fix that out and try that out. So yeah, you can also get started with your iOS and Android mobile phone if you don't have a VR headset. But if you have a VR or MR headset, feel free to take the best experience out of it. Um, yeah. Dikshita, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do. Hi, I also belong to the fashion industry as well, and I'm also in augmented reality. How did like mixed reality and Vogue happen together? Like I heard of a fashion show where mixed reality was involved. How did it all happen?
Yeah, for me personally, I had needed a career change, so I happened to have found tech as the career change, but it wasn't honestly until a year and a half ago where I actually got interested in this space, because for so long I did other things in tech, but I had saw a demo at one of our Microsoft events where they were doing real-time speech translation. And so for a little bit in undergrad, I studied linguistics. So anything around communication and language, I really love. And so after seeing that one demo, I immediately wanted to learn how to do it. And that's really how it all started. But since I've been on this team, every so often, either my manager or someone in the community will share something with me as it relates to fashion and how people are using like HoloLens in the work that they do. I can't remember which fashion house it is, but one of them has been using the HoloLens to as their for like their showroom to show different collections and such. So that's pretty cool to see that. And yeah, every so often I see things that are tied to fashion, so it's like a happy treat whenever I do see anything. Yeah, but yeah, I just like people to know that you don't have to be one of the people who has been like in this area for like years upon years. I'm a year and yeah, I'm a year and a half in, and I've picked up on a good amount. I would say if you happen to know a programming language outside of C# or just any programming language, it's helpful as you're learning like a new one. At least for me, it definitely was. And I was like scared for years to ever learn C#. And like I'm still learning to this day. But a lot, I would say, with this area, so much of it is new. So it's not possible for anyone to know everything. And there's so many things changing. I mean, even just recently, we announced Microsoft Mesh, which in itself has a whole new set of technology. So things are always changing. And it's just a matter of, taking your time. And that's what I found to be helpful too, especially coming from a completely different area in terms of career.
Yeah, that's one of the great things of the community. I like that there are people from various backgrounds and different backgrounds, so through which we get to learn a lot about different experiences. Moving on, there's a question in the chat by Abrar. How can Mixed Reality Toolkit help explain abstract concepts like quantum physics, multidimensional space, time theory, etc.?
Yeah, we partner with a lot of different universities who are actually using whether it's Mixed Reality Toolkit or as it relates like to HoloLens, for example, for educational purposes to help explain things, whatever their lectures are on. As it relates to the Mixed Reality Toolkit, if there's any sort of need for the folks who are actually viewing the experience to do any sort of interactions, whether they're doing buttons, I'm trying to think of like every like feature we have in the toolkit. There's a lot of different things in there, but it really depends on what it is you want to do. Just to give you an idea, we came out with our Designing Holograms app not too long ago, and it's a like kind of written instruction, but it's also voice and speech as well. And there's different Unity scenes that goes along with it. So if you're providing instruction in that manner, you can do that. But then also when you're interacting with different things, that's where the Mixed Reality Toolkit can come into play as well. So it would more or less be like a hybrid. But if you also want to have different like 3D models and whatever that instruction is, there's opportunities in there to do different interactions with that too. So it depends on what you want the experience to look like. But there's been many professors in different universities who are using this tech that we have to help in an educational setting, and they seem to be happy with it so far.
It's great to see different stuff coming up day by day, especially after Microsoft Mesh, which was the key focusing feature of Ignite this year. And when he asked about Abrar asked about quantum physics, so I remember Thomas Lewis was talking once about quantum computing. So maybe I'll just give his Twitter so that he can reach out to him and ask more about that. And I spoke about Ignite. So I remember you had a session there about careers in mixed reality, and I didn't got to see it live, but I did made sure to watch its recording. So, and many of us here are students, and they would like to know about if after they graduate about so they want to know about careers in mixed reality. So if you want to just summarize your Ignite session here in some statements, so what would be the suggestion that you would give to students?
Yeah, I would say keep in mind in mixed reality, there's so many different roles available, and it really comes down to what you're really interested in. If I even think about the team that I work with, we have people who fully focus on design, for example. So there's that set. There's people who actually build the different tools that we have. So we have engineers doing that. There's also folks who are building things around like HoloLens, for example. There's people like me who teach how to use the technology. So even though I don't build product, I teach, but I also code because I come up with the examples that I share for people. In addition, there's oh my goodness, there's marketing as well. I know folks here are definitely into the tech side of it, but if you ever decide to take that marketing route in your career, having a good understanding of the technology is really helpful, because then you're helping with providing a good strategy around that. There's also sales. People who sell any of our paid services, they're responsible for selling, but they're also responsible for knowing how to use the tech that we have. And then we have folks who work within like remote assist. They're like customer service in a sense, whereas they're helping customers virtually with using the technology. So there's a lot in terms of different directions that you can go on. You don't necessarily have to be the one building the product. There's just so many of us that touch different parts of it, but having at least that technical knowledge to a degree would be helpful. And you can always switch to something, you can start in one area and then switch if you would like to as well.
Yeah, exactly. You are a great example of how switching from a different background to, completely different background, and still doing great in that. So it's all about the interest we have. There's one more question in the chat, and no, there are two questions. After this, maybe we can, let you go and not hold you back on Saturday evening. So the first question is, with a career point of view, what all different industries are using mixed reality?
Yeah, so I mentioned fashion earlier. There's healthcare as well. There's manufacturing that's using it. There's also academia that's also using this. There's like the car industries using it. I know recently we shared like our partnership, I think is with Bentley, for example. Also, if you think about like the food industry, so one of my jobs back when I lived on the East Coast, they were using the technology to map out how the store was going to be set up. So there's an area to do there too. There's also gaming, of course. So there's a variety. I mean, and essentially, if you can think of an industry, there's probably likely some way to apply mixed reality to it. You just sometimes have to like think a little hard to determine how it can fit in, but it's used in so many different industries now.
Yeah, recently Microsoft also partnered with many Fortune 100 companies like NASA, Toyota, many others. So yeah, it's growing day by day. The list is growing day by day, I would say. So there are many. There's one more question. As mixed reality gears are expensive, will there be a cheaper alternative in the near future?
Yeah, that's where Microsoft Mesh comes into play. With Microsoft Mesh, you don't necessarily need to use one of the more expensive devices. If you happen to have a smartphone or a tablet, for example, as the tool starts to get further built out, you can use those devices. In my opinion, personally, as we continue to iterate over Microsoft Mesh, I'm focusing more on less HoloLens and more on devices that most people actually do own, like your phones, or if you happen to have like an iPad, for example. That's really going to be a good alternative. We might not be there 100% yet, but it's coming. And that is like one thing I'm like pushing and introducing the folks that they really want to get started with the device as well. So we'll get there. It's definitely on the roadmap, and I would say just stay up to date with where we are with Microsoft Mesh. Our Mixed Reality Devs Twitter channel does a pretty good job of providing any updates. I share a lot of updates as I learn about them. So yeah, I would say in the meantime, though, If you aren't familiar with mixed reality, definitely start learning now, because once everything's available, I feel like everyone's going to want to use it. So definitely get ahead of the curve and start learning now if you're not too familiar. And then once we have these the ability to use all these different devices, you'll be glad that you started now with learning.
Also about mixed reality if we are specific, there was a price difference between HoloLens 1 and HoloLens 2 too. Like it was like $5,000 or HoloLens 1, and now it's $3,500. We can't be sure about next HoloLens version coming up, but yeah, there was a specific price difference there too. So I guess it might decrease or it might not. So it's all depending upon the usage people are using and which way people are using. And there are not any more questions in the chat. So I guess we can now let you rest. And before we go, which would be the best platform so that people can reach out to you if they have any questions or they want to share anything? So
yeah, it's gonna be Twitter. I'm gonna put it back in the chat right now. That's like the best way, I would say, to touch base with me.
Yeah, so feel free to connect to April on Twitter. Just say hi or share something which you have built. She would be more than happy to help. All right. Just before we leave, this is the feedback URL, as feedback is a gift. I also believe, and the organization that I'm working with, the CEO, they said that feedback is always valuable and it always gives a gift. So all the attendees, you need to fill this form. This will also make sure to make your attendance for the session, and which will at the end make sure that you receive a certificate, a token of appreciation from our end for attending the session, and which will also help us to know more in which domain you need sessions on, and how was this session, like what could have been more better or what went well. You can also acknowledge that. So that's all you can mention in this feedback. So you can either scan this QR code or just visit .ly/mrtk feedback. All right. Yeah.
Can we have a photo?
Yeah, sure. I was about to tell that next. All right. There's not much in the presentation, so I'll just stop sharing the screen so that we can have this. Stop. Okay, let's stop. All right. I would request those who all can switch on their camera, so that please do that, so that we can have a group B. We'll be sharing all of this on our social media. Yep, there we have. We'll wait for 2 minutes. So sometimes people are just getting ready with their backgrounds, so that they have a nice background photo. And in the meantime, also feel free to fill the feedback. Let's just give 30 seconds. We will switch on the camera. All right, I guess people are feeling a bit shy, so that's okay. So we can take the screenshot. All right. In 3, 2, 1, we'll take the screenshot. So just get ready with the pose, whichever you want to. All right. 3, 2. Oh, there's one. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. I'll just take one more in different view. Just give me a second. Oh yeah. I always take a together mode to selfie. So yeah, that's another great thing. Just let me change. Let's see. Oh, I got a weird change. So just a minute. I'm just switching it to the best. All right. Let's again go with 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, and 1. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you everyone for switching on your cameras. Thank you April for giving us such a huge amount of time from your busy schedule. I know we held up you on your Saturday evening, so yeah, we also apologize for that. And thank you for everything. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for joining. Any
Thank you for
last
having
thing
me.
you want to say?
Yeah, if you're getting started with mixed reality, be patient, take your time. That's the best advice I can give. Just be patient, take your time. Oh, and have fun.
That's fun. Mixed reality is fun, I'll say. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Take care.
Okay. Bye. Take care.
Bye.